Hello there, my name is Ben, and that noise is actually coming from the Mode 4. I'll get onto that in a minute. But some people wanted to see my guitar chain, my guitar rig as it is right now, and so I thought I would show you that. Now, starting off, my guitar gets plugged in here, and I use blue leads. If you know what they are, then they're very clever. There's one actually plugged in right there. But they're the kind of leads I use, and I use the Dario plectrums, I think, so if you need to know all of that, I'll get onto strings and stuff in a minute. But this is my kind of constant installation. This is the rig that I use all the time, and what I'll do is if I want something in particular, I'll add it to the end of the chain normally. So where this Mode 4 control box is, I'll take this away because you don't need it in the studio, and I'll replace this section with various bits of kit, which are actually in the box behind me. I'll go through that another day if you want to see those. But let's start off with the chain. I think everyone starts with a good old tuner, and this is a good old tuner. This is a Boss TU2, which I love. Again, I've been through Korg, I've been through Line 6, Digitech GNX3's built-in one. I used to have this huge guitar kind of multi-effects pedal. I'd only ever use the tuner, which is crazy really. But and then Danelectro, the purple tuner, I've been through them all. But this one's my favourite. So it does chromatic. You can actually set, if you don't, because I don't always play in 44A, I sometimes play in slightly different things. It's a very off-putting sound. That if I want an off-putting sound, I can actually achieve that almost entirely only with this Boss kit, and you can't normally do that with the standard kind of analog tuners. You have to have something which is slightly programmable. So that's what that is. Going on to the Morley Classic Wah, again, I've been through Crybabies and the Danelectro and the Digitech Wah, which is used to being built with one of the whammy pedals, but I don't know if they sell that anymore. But this has always been my favourite. I think I always have this depressed. Well, not always, not if I'm doing metal, but if I'm doing the music I am now, it's always slightly depressed because I like the sound. It kind of, I think the end of this wah-wah's trough actually ends at about 5 kilohertz, something like that. It's quite muddy in that respect, so I think it does add a character. Not just that kind of screechy wah, it adds a very distinct character, and I always miss it when it's not in the songs, as you can see right now. I think even now it's turned on. Going on to the Vibrotrem, which is actually like, that isn't always a part of my rig, but as of recent it has been, because it's trustworthy and it allows me to achieve the sound that I want with the kind of more relaxed, almost jazzy vibe at the moment. So that's a really unique bit of kit which has both a vibrato and a tremolo in it, so you can only use one at a time though, but it's very good. That's my Skype. Going on to the compressor, another Marshall pedal which I always have on, always on, but before delay obviously because it's a compressor, and again it is really missed when it's not there, and I never knew that as a guitarist. I always thought, why would anyone want a compressor on a guitar chain? I mean, I know what it does in production and I always knew that, but I always thought, why wouldn't you do it after production? But you do miss it. It gives the guitar a kind of more rounded, more commercial sound, and without it, it's sorely missed. So moving on to the final effect pedal, which is the Danelectro Real Echo, which is an actual tape delay, which is very, very useful. It has both a solid state and a tube tone, so you can switch between the two types of tape. It has a lo-fi knob, not a switch, because the other version of this has the knob. This has the the other version of this has the switch. This one has the knob, and also has a warbler. Now the really interesting thing, I don't know if you can see it, it is here. I don't know, can I zoom in on this thing? No, I cannot. I'm going to pull off the lens. The warbler's unique because actually I'm going to turn this off if you don't mind, because it's really loud. That's better. So you can see how loud that thing is. Until it warms up, it's really loud. The really good thing about the warble is that you have essentially a really clean input and output. You can set it so the actual mix of the Real Echo is really, really low, so that you're getting majority of just your guitar. But what the warble will do is just affect the delayed signal. So you'll have your clean guitar, and then the delays will have a kind of flangey chorus on them. It's very peculiar. It is a warble. It's essentially a warble, but I've never seen a pedal that does that, or at least as well. In fact, I can't even think of a pedal that does that, let alone as well as this. And again, you can tap it as well as actually change the speed range with that little slider, as well as the amount of feedback, or repeats as they call them. If it's Danelectro, it's repeats. Everything else is feedback, because they have to be different. Now that's the kind of basic pedal setup that I have, and oops, ooh, what's going on with this? That's better. Sorry if it's shaky, but I can't control that. This is a DSLR and it's really annoying. So that's my Mode 4 foot pedal, and it's very boring, very rarely gets changed. The only reason I ever change it is if I want to click off the reverb button, but very rarely want to do that anyway. So this is my Ibanez cab, and it's actually a really unique bit of kit, because it isn't actually it isn't anything like what it was when I bought it. It's 2 Celestions and 2 Fender speakers in there. So it isn't an Ibanez cab. This is just what it looks like, but in fact I could just use the accompanying Marshall 250. I don't know why I didn't do that, but anyway, I've always used this. It's always actually would look much nicer as well. I must get around to doing that. I don't know why I didn't do that, but anyway, I think it's because I was using the Ibanez Tone Blaster at the time, and it just happened. So, but this is one of the best sounding cabs that I've ever used. At least I'm sure there's better, but this is the one I get on with because it has my Celestions and the 2 Fenders. So Celestion, I think it's Celestion, Fender, which is quite cool. So you get a cross section of both, and they both sound very similar. I mean, speakers are kind of speakers, just depending on the kind of cone and the way the actual cone is constructed. It's the only way you're actually going to get any difference. And I did some A/B tests though with the actual standard Tone Blaster cabs, which is what this is, and this renovated version, and it does sound it sounds distinct. You could just say that it sounds a bit MIDI, kind of the mid level, which is not that popular when it comes to rock and metal and stuff like that, but more popular when you get to the cleaner kind of singer-songwriter jazz and stuff like that. So that's why we're using this right now. Now the Mode 4. Someone asked me why I would use a Mode 4, and it's quite an expensive bit of kit, but why I wouldn't use a Mesa Boogie. And I actually have a Mesa Boogie. I have two. I have the dual rectifier and the rectifier. I like Mesa Boogie, and I'm going to be doing something soon showing you how I get the zombie sound, and a lot of that zombie sound comes from Mesa Boogie, but the majority of it comes from this Mode 4. The Mode 4 is good because you can get that Mesa Boogie sound from a Mode 4 very, very simply, but what you can't do in a Mode 4 is get a standard mid-level sound. And essentially what a Mode 4 does, there's a little button in there, I don't know if you can see it, if I can zoom in and be stable enough. Where's my finger? Right there, I don't know if you can see that. And it has scoop written on it, and essentially what a Mesa Boogie does is just have a scooped setting. That's all the rectifier is a constantly scooped setting, so you can get that new metal and you can get that industrial feel. But what you can't do is turn it off. Well, you can, but it doesn't sound particularly good. What this does is start with a really nice, rich sounding amp with full of mid and high level frequencies, but you can scoop the shit out of it so that you can actually get both a metal, new metal, and industrial sound. That's why I use the Mode 4, because it's a much more versatile amp. I mean, the gain settings may not be quite as troublesome. I mean, when I'm talking about troublesome, I mean terrorful. Terrorful? That's a new word. That's a bit of terrible and terror. I like that, terrorful. I'm going to use it because the Mesa Boogie gives you that kind of, it's got that really distinct, disgusting sound. And it's harder to achieve that on this Marshall, but it's still doable. Whereas the other way around, just hit the camera, it's not doable. Now, anyone knows if they're in recording, use an SM57 to mic your amp, and I actually use two, both with those clouds on them so the room doesn't spill. And that's pretty much it. I use a bit of resonance on it and a bit which is built in right there. I don't know if you can see that on the left in the middle resonance, and a bit of the built-in reverb because Marshall have particularly nice reverbs. And that's that. So that's the rig. That's how that stands as is, and that's not going to be changing for a long time because it's always worked for me, and it's a good bit of kit. Now, onto my guitars. Now, these are the 2D guitars, the two down ones. You can see down in there if it will focus. It might not. Don't know. I've gone farmer. These are the 2D guitars anyway, and they no longer make this one. This is called a Maverick, and I can't remember the actual code, and that's a PRS over there with the red strings, and both are red guitars, and these are always being the two down guitars. However, for Humanity and the Wolf, we switched out to a Fender 7-string. Again, it was purple. I think actually I had it made in red and then changed to purple. But anyway, these are the two down guitars. Both very similar sounding, although the Maverick gives you a lot more control and has the coolest volume controllers I've ever seen. They're amazing. This is actually one of the first guitars I ever had, and had it kind of resprayed and redone. So I'm very happy with that. Actually, it has a Floyd Rose, which I don't ever use. I hate Floyd Rose. I hate tremolo systems, I hate whammy bars, and I hate the whole idea of it because I've never had a good experience even with these locking nuts up here. I've never ever had a good experience with Floyd Rose ever working very well, and it's just probably just my own technical error, although it's doubtful, but you know, because I'm quite good at kind of fixing up guitars and stuff. Yeah, I just never had them work particularly well. But they're the two 2D ones, very similar sounding, again, extreme heavy sounding stuff, both tuned. Actually no, they're not both tuned the same. This is in A flat, this is in C flat, and that's because we're working on a little something at the moment, which is going to be hitting you soon. Now, moving on to my most recent kind of selection of guitars, the rig as I call it, and 4 of them are Fenders, which I'm not kind of used to. I'm never used to using Fenders, but they're amazing. Really are amazing guitars, and I think it's only when you use other guitars for lighter sort of cleaner. I keep using the word jazzier, but it's not really jazzier. It's just kind of more conditioned and less heavy, basically. So light music, whatever. You know, if you're using Ibanez's and Gibsons and even Gresh, because I have a couple and I have a couple of Gibsons, I don't like. Actually, I have more than that. I have about 5 of them. I think I have 2 Gresh. Anyway, I don't like their sound. I don't like it at all. When you compare it to a Fender, it's kind of incomparable. It's really nice sound that you get from some of these. So I have my Bender Ubercaster, which many of you would have seen before. It looks quite funky. I did my own kind of custom cartoon paint job on it, and that's that actually has an Eric Clapton pickup selection, and I think the other 2 are both Fender Jazzmaster pickups with the standard old school tuning heads. These are literally the originals, which this one has original looking heads, but these are actually original, which is quite cool. This is a really expensive guitar that I pieced together bit by bit. It actually came from a Squier, which are awful guitars, but I wanted to do the body first, and so the really good thing about Squier and Fender is they use very similar body parts. So that's a Squier body with everything else like high-end Fender. So you know, that was quite cool, and it was a really good experience getting to make. I remade that one, but this one, getting to remake it was really interesting. So I have that, which is my Bender Ubercaster. Moving on to an actual Fender Stratocaster here, which is actually my wife's, and this is a very cool guitar. I've been using this a lot in my current projects. Why, it's got a capo on it and recently restrung. Again, really nice bit of kit going on to my Fender HH Jaguar, which is the special edition, which they don't make anymore. Actually, that's a lie, they still do make it, but this has been customized a bit as well. So this is the Fender Jaguar HH. I love the Jaguar, but it's actually got a Jazzmaster body, which is strange. I don't know why they call it a Jaguar, but it has a Jazzmaster body. This isn't the black top. I know a lot of people have seen that and they think that it's very similar, but it's not similar, and it's definitely the Jaguar, although it does have a Jazzmaster body. It's weird. I don't know why they do that. And again, it has the retro looking heads, but they're not actually retro, and I use this a lot. This is always for my low end. If I want a guitar sound that's full of body, then I'll always go for that, and it's I think it's probably my favourite clean sounding guitar. It's really nice, and anyway, that's that. Next one is Fender Telecaster in pink, and it's the thin line Telecaster, which is quite cool. And again, this is my wife's, and it looks like that. Very pink, but yeah, again, stock stuff. This has never been changed, and neither has the red one here. But these are both stock, and that's that. So so that's the kind of cleaner end of my sound, and that's what I'm using all the time at the moment. So this entire Songs by Ben album is almost completely Fender, which is completely new for me, because I'm always changing up between Gibson, Gresh, Fender, but having something which is solely something is very different for me. So then we move on to my Schecter for the Zombies album, which I'm working on now. Actually, both of these, the OLP and the Schecter, are both for my Zombies album, and this is a Schecter 8-string guitar. This is the Diamond Series Blackjack, which is quite cool. Is it Blackjack? Can't remember. And yeah, that's a really nice guitar, and recent addition. And my OLP, not Our Lady Peace, but my OLP 5-string bass, which I'm using all the time. So that's the kind of setup I have now. Again, I have nearly 40 guitars, so this is obviously a very small portion of them, but you know, these are the ones I'm using all the time, and people wanted to see the ones that I have out every day, and this is them. And that's pretty much it. If you want to see the entire collection, then I can do that. I have to be a couple of videos at a time, but or if you want me to try them out and show you how to get certain effects and how to make guitars sound nice and a bit of kind of all that stuff, I can do all that. And once again, I only ever use these now. These were introduced last year, and they're called Ernie Ball Slinky Cobalts, and I use Slinkies all the time, but the Cobalt is for bass, but I use these for guitars. And all of these are heavy bottom guitars. Actually, not the 8-string. That's 8-string Cobalt. Actually, that is heavy bottom, the 8-string Cobalt. But all of these are 6-string Cobalt, but heavy bottom. They come in a kind of orangey red pack, and that's what all of these are. And these are the best strings I've ever used. They last for ages. Like, they don't start to deteriorate for a really long time, and I don't know why they never made strings out of Cobalt before, but there you go. I might get sent some Cobalt strings now. I've said they're so nice, but they are really good. And so that's it. That's my current setup. Quite boring, but that's what it is. And these are guitars I love, and the guitars I love to play at the moment. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.